Hey everyone, Evan Kirstel here with another great discussion around CX enabled by the latest technologies like CpaaS. So we're going to throw out lots of acronyms at you today, but we actually have four amazing individuals, entrepreneurs, thought leaders who are going to decode some of the technology around customer experience, communications platform as a service, and more. Why don't we start going around the horn here? Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself and the CPaaS Acceleration Alliance to the viewers here?
Good morning. Thanks for hosting this, Evan. We're excited to be together as a group here in cooperation with you and your organization. Kevin Nethercott, I'm the managing partner at the CPaaS Acceleration Alliance, where our objective and goal is to really help grow the customer experience CPaaS market by working with enabling technology companies and particularly working with CSPs and telephone companies around the world, helping them understand this business and take it to market. And so really excited to learn what some of the new innovations are from our three guests here. So appreciate you having us on.
Awesome. Awesome, Kevin. Are we allowed to call them telephone companies anymore, or do we have to sunset that term? We may
I
need,
don't know.
what do
That's a
you,
good question.
we're old, but Ian, maybe you're on mute if you could jump off mute. That's also going to be our goal for 2023, never being on mute again.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I got a cold, didn't want to cough. Yeah, no, it's all CSPs. Telcos is out. CSPs are in. Now it's no longer greenfield. It's blue ocean versus red ocean, and for
Oh,
this
so
time,
many oceans. It's tough to
yeah,
keep track. But introduce
you know,
yourself, Ian. You're an absolutely magnetic person. I've got to know you over the last few months. And Bradio, a company most
yeah,
people have not heard of.
yeah, intentionally so. We've avoided although we're a very Silicon Valley company, extremely so tied in, but we avoided the venture community. We wanted to get it right this time. One of the things we found was just to grow the business, agile it, as we say in the space, learn from the CSPs, learn from our partners like you guys, and then come out of, I wouldn't call it stealth, but then come out and engage publicly. We are a customer engagement layer, which is very tied to this experience here. We take advantage of the telco, the CSP stack, the pipe, the SMS, all the wonderful tools they have. We take advantage of CPaaS, which is why we're part of CPaaS Alliance. We think it's critical that people put this technology layer together. But ultimately, we think customer engagement is critical. Over the last 30 years, we've seen, almost 30 years, consumerization of the enterprise. We've seen people get more and more comfortable with technology, more and more comfortable with experience, taking hardcore enterprise experiences and turning it into things like Microsoft Excel. So what we realized, though, is that it's a very horizontal approach. So whether you're a veterinarian or an accountant, you're getting the same solution. We think it needs to be verticalized, and that's what we do here at Brady. We verticalize it per market segment, and we take advantage of CPaaS and all the wonderful tool sets, and that's why the name Bradio. We braid different services together, which is Enrico and I was talking about earlier before we went live, to create an experience specific to a market segment, and allows you to really drive new growth and new revenues, regardless of whether it's enterprise or SME. That's a long-winded way of saying we're all about customer engagement.
I love it. New revenues and growth. That's on everyone's mind in
Yeah.
2023 as we face difficult times, to say the least. And Shankar from Radisys, appreciate you joining. I know it's getting late at your time zone. Maybe just unmute and chat about yourself and Radisys, a company that powers the infrastructure behind much of today's modern communications landscape.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ivan. It's great to be part of this discussion here today. So Radisys is a 30-year-old, almost 30-year-old company. Started off with a few Intel engineers coming out of Intel and, really creating a product very centered towards media and media processing. Of course, the company's grown over the last 30 years, a lot of acquisitions, that we have done to kind of, really solidify our, space in this particular domain. And as of 2018, we are now under the umbrella of Reliance Industries. If you guys know, Reliance is one of the biggest conglomerates based out of India, and Their success story in geo networks here in India is just phenomenal, right? They started in 2017 with 0 subscribers. In today's date, they have 487 million subscribers on their network. So one of the things that we do at Radisys is, of course, the specific business unit that I work for, called the media engine. We look at anything and everything about media and media processing, media analytics, so on and so forth. Of course, now that Radisys is grown, we also have other business units that are looking at the broadband solution, the radio access, specifically on the O-RAN side, and so on and so forth. So our whole aspect of going into the market is like, a complete end-to-end solution, given the advent of 5G, new private networks come into forum, and then how do we kind of get these applications in, right? Gone are the days of just connectivity solutions, right? Now, every customer that you talk to, be it a CSP or enterprise, they all want to have these connectivity. They all understand connectivity is required, which is the basis. But what do you do with that connectivity? How do you enable certain applications, and what makes sense, right? What applications make sense? Do you have to deploy it on the edge? Is it okay to deploy it on the data center? There's a whole bunch of discussions that keeps happening around that.
That's
So looking
fantastic.
forward to what you guys have to say today, and let's have a great discussion today.
Yeah, fascinating to get the on-site Indian perspective. India is now the epicenter, I think, of new app development, of innovation in mobile. You've got 5G now rolling out nationwide, which is like super exciting and a turbo boost the app economy and more. We'll move on to Enrico from Anywhere365. Enrico, you guys are involved at the core of what CX, contact center is. Maybe introduce yourself and Anywhere365.
I'm happy you say so, that we are at the core, Evan. Thanks for having us. Enrico Karsten, I'm the CEO of Anywhere365. Been in the company now for 1.5 years. That's kind of short, you would say, but I've been involved with the company ever since it started back in 2010. It was, I think. So prior to this venture, I had another company that was a close partner to Anywhere365. So another company, the founder, the technology by heart. Anywhere365 is a Microsoft-centric CCaaS solution provider, and that's being chosen by enterprises globally. Even I'm proud to say 26 of the top Fortune Global 500 companies. And what is amazing, I think, in what we do, we essentially are being perceived as a contact center deployment company on top of Microsoft technology. We call it dialogue management because we take it broader than contact centers. So yes, we are able to compete with high-end contact centers around the globe, such as Genesys or Cisco or NICE, but we focus on empowering every user on the Teams ecosystem of Microsoft with the same skills and same functionalities and values that normal organizations only do in the contact center space. So that's where we really differentiate. Another aspect that I think is very important is that we basically act in two different markets at the same time. So on one end, you have the ever-growing, now I think 11 billion contact center market, and the growth primarily being pushed by the move from on-prem to cloud. And on the other end, you have the ever-growing Microsoft Teams adoption in the market that now reaches up to, I think, 290 million active users currently. And so our approach is to, yes, compete and go to market in the contact center space. And on the other hand, realizing that maybe contact center to some extent is dead. Realizing that we focus on just almost any ordinary Teams user within the enterprise to give them the same values in the Teams market.
Yeah, it's interesting. Contact centers now are about empowering knowledge workers too, not just agents who are sitting in call centers like we think of.
Everybody is an agent, Evan. Everybody's an agent. We are here as well.
Everybody's in the queue.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So Kevin, talk about your insight on CX from 2022, and what are you most excited about when it comes to 2023? There have been so many advancements, and yet still more work to be done in digital transformation. Are you sort of going in with half glass empty, or half full in terms of the opportunity this year?
I think from a macro perspective, there's a tendency to look at it being half empty, given kind of where the economy is and some of the things going on a macro basis. But what my experience has been with a number of these sessions that we've done and a number of the analysts that we've discussed with lately, I feel that I'm at the half full side though for this year, and the fact that the budgets and so forth that companies are looking to spend are really around the customer experience. They're finding that the digital transformation is real, and their ability to engage their customers, retain their customers, upsell their customers is the most efficient part of growing their business or keeping their business. And so I'm pretty bullish on our sector to continue to grow at a meaningful rate into this year. Other parts of the economy and the spend may go away, but it seems that we have some good momentum because of the real impact and efficiencies that this technology is bringing to businesses, and it allows them to save money and make money at the same time in many cases, which is a unique combination. And it's based on the technology of these companies, right? The innovative things that they're able to do. Now, I think the key to this, and where we focus a lot here at the Alliance, is on the softer side of things. So I think one of the challenges may be not so much the technology, but how do you take that to market? And so I'd be interested to understand too, as we go through this, as we transition to this customer experience scenario, how are the companies making sure that it gets all the way to the end user? What's their channel? How do they get to market? But to answer your question, Evan, I'm an eternal optimist, but I think that even given some of the macro effects, our spaces, we're in a good spot to move forward in a meaningful way this year.
Well, we're a good match because I'm an eternal pessimist. So we're balancing the yin and yang here. But Ian, we've both been around telco for decades, and we've seen over our careers terrible customer service, customer experience from what we call phone companies, telcos, carriers, whatever you want to call it. That has turned around to a great extent. I mean, if you've ever interacted with your wireless carrier, your cable company, it's not as bad as it used to be. I guess that's a pretty half-assed compliment, but how can carriers take it to the next level and really in the building the value-added experiences that they need to deliver?
Yeah, I think we touched on it. I think Enrico touched on it. I think we all have. First off, they were taken to the woodshed with the 4G and 3G. They lost a lot of revenues. They lost, this recent, with the advent of things like Twilio and Cinch, CpaaS players, they had a lot of business taken away from them because they were so focused on the pipe, so focused on giving you minutes. When really, what I like about the term communication service provider, I get it's fuzzy, but is that talking about communication, talking about what Enrico talked about, we all talk to each other. And as soon as you start embracing that concept of engagement and customer engagement and experience, you can start to look at your user base in a very different way. You're not mining it for minutes. You're using it for engagement, and you're creating threads of engagement. And in there lies massive growth and massive revenue. And we've taken advantage of some of the things we've seen. We've seen an incredibly sophisticated, decades now long set of users, multi-generational, comfortable with tech. They use Snapchat. They know how to engage in self-service. These are all the groundwork for how we're going to get to the next level of revenues. And, Enrico, I don't know what you said exactly, but the term about we're all a knowledge worker and we can all help each other. Brady has a little feature called Knowledge Tap. It's simply, I need an answer. I'll tap Kevin and say, hey, Evan, can you help me with this answer? And it's just, I'm tapping you on the shoulder. But that engagement is revenues. That engagement spins out into other forms of transactions, not just revenues, but ideas, knowledge. And so what Bradio is doing is around that. We're looking to capture that essence of customer engagement and look outwards. Look, the base is there, guys. The carriers have 3 billion users. They have multiple verticals, but they can't look down into the network as much anymore. They need to engage, customer engagement, communicate. And I think that's our strength. That's what CpaaS lets us do. It lets us create these different modules, these different versions, different verticalized models of engagement. And that's the exciting thing for us. it's wide open. And the carriers have woken up to that. They absolutely have. They know their growth and their revenues that the street is watching to drive them forward cannot just be the usual minutes and model. And that's why CpaaS is so powerful. Sorry, I sound like I drank the Kool-Aid, probably have, but I'm dealing with it real time. And when they're coming to you as opposed to you coming to them, you're going, wow, there's a shift. They're banging on your door asking for engagement solutions. So, and that's
what a great opportunity. And Shankar, there is a need to develop all these new customer experience workflows and applications, but we need a new underlying infrastructure, hence the CpaaS discussion. But even CpaaS needs a new underlying infrastructure to enable new modes of video and new codecs and new spatial audio and new kinds of messaging interfaces and transcoding. And I mean, there's just a cornucopia of technologies underneath CpaaS. How do we bring it all together, I guess, is a question for the customer.
No, absolutely. You're nailed on right on the target, right? Even so, honestly, if you take them like 5-10 years ago, we talk about CpaaS, it was really a new term in terms of how, most of these CSPs and other enterprises do business. Right now, it's a term that's like, everyone is aware of it. But do we stop at just that communication aspect, right, anymore? When you say communication, it's basically audio, video, messaging in some form or fashion, right? Is that enough anymore? And honestly, when we are dealing, when we talk to our customers, it's not enough. Now everyone wants a whole lot of other, enhancements to just the basic communication needs, right? So like last 2 years, right? Everyone's been working from home. There's a lot of noise in the background. There are children crying, dogs barking, sirens going on, right? All over the place. So you need
all simultaneously, yes.
So noise cancellations, you need you need those enhancements of media analytics to kind of perform certain things. Like for instance, we could basically build in an enhancement into this particular call to say, hey, bring in an automated assistant that can actually transcribe the conversation that we are having. If let's say I have a particular preference of a language that I want to participate in, the same can happen. But it's still a really rich engagement that's happening, although I am speaking in a different language than perhaps even you or perhaps Kevin and others, right? So that kind of a model is what we've got to start thinking about. But your point about having that complexity, right? I mean, it is a complex communication in general is a very complex field to look at. There's a whole bunch of things that go on into the particular platform to enable these communication aspects of things, right? And that's where now we're also looking at providing a really easy way of setting applications. That's where this low code, no code kind of a mechanism comes into play, where the complex telco communication needs just get embedded into the platform. And from an application developer's perspective, it's all just, widgets and connectivities, right? So they just call certain APIs and everything, boom, the service is created in 15 minutes, right? That's the shift that we see. Gone are the days of, do you know C++ and all these protocols and everything to develop applications? Gone are those days. Now everyone talks about, okay, do you have a portal for me to create applications? So that's a paradigm shift that we see that's happening. And that's where the CpaaS and the enhancements that you build as part of this solutioning kind of helps to move in that direction.
That's a great point. And Enrico, let's talk about what's closest to the customer, that user interface, that user experience, that workflow, or we used to call it IVR, and for a long time and continued, they are pretty bad. The IVR trees, we've all been stuck in those hellish user experiences, and due to a PBX or a call center that was in the closet somewhere that no one could really touch. Are you seeing that being reinvented?
A long time ago,
well?
Evan.
It sounds like yesterday. But can you talk about the new? I mean, look, ChatGPT is out. We're all excited about this new, conversational AI experience. Talk about the deployment of that and what you're seeing in the real world in the field today.
In terms of an interface, you mean, or in terms of conversational AI?
Well, in terms of the new user experience in the contact center and in
Yeah,
IVR,
yeah.
how is that being improved through the use of advanced tech like AI, but also, advanced messaging tools? You have WhatsApp, you have iMessage, you have all kinds of new interfaces which are much more
Yeah,
consumer friendly than they
yeah.
used to be.
Yeah, there are two angles. I think one thing that's important to realize as a context of this question is that I think we, for one, have been able to deliver far better innovations or interfaces on top of Microsoft than the customer was
Mhm.
ready to absorb. So we have a lot of customers, especially in the contact center space, that come with a different, not necessarily bad, but still a traditional mindset, and they are looking for a like-for-like replacement. So let's say the burden of not having been capable enough as a technology provider to deliver efficient IVR solutions, for instance, is not entirely on a lack of possibilities of the providers themselves. An important element for us in the experience, and that's obviously our focus, is that we want to have a seamless experience either in the business process itself or on top of the regular, what we now call the UCaaS solution that's already sitting on the desktop of a user. So we don't want to interfere people with different elements, different tool set, different types of hardware, different interfaces to get this valuable experience, but just have the experience sit exactly there where they need it to be. That's one thing. The other thing for me, which is really relevant also to my first point of seeing the traditional contact centers going into the market, and my former blunt statement of contact center is that we are now seeing far more companies using contact center type of technology to engage with their customers, but not necessarily being a contact center. And those type of companies are looking far more into the conversational AI / text channel oriented communication streams. And an important thing that we see happening, at least in our product and in the market for the next couple of months, is that we're taking a text channel oriented communications to an entirely different level. So I won't go into depth of what exactly it is, but at least for now, it's important to understand that we will be fueling agents or people that are handling text towards their customers or other peers, fueling them with the NPS score that they're on at the moment, with the answers or the information that they're requiring. And we are giving them tips and tricks to higher that NPS score exactly in the same given dialogue that is now taking place, which is very valuable and takes the experience not only of the customer, but also of in this case, the agent or the information worker that is engaged. And what I find maybe even more interesting on the longer term, and I don't know how the other people on this table are thinking about that, is to what extent will companies like ourselves or companies that are on this table yet still be the technology provider for a specific technology solution required by a customer, or is it going to be the way that we are going to be delivering the full set of capabilities, including the context? So in the light of, for instance, virtual agents, are we delivering technology and intelligence behind that technology to fuel customers to make use of virtual agents? Or will we be delivering virtual agents with all the context and information that's behind that as a solution instead of burdening customers with technology?
I love it. Not burdening customers with technology. You made a pretty bold statement that contact center is dead. Is voice dead, or what is the role of voice in this new world of messaging and video and interactive experiences? What's your take?
Yeah, so of course the bold statement is not entirely the truth, but I love to say it that way because we sometimes tend to not realize anymore that if we are interacting via digital channels when we're purchasing something, that we're not talking to somebody at a contact center. We're talking to somebody in a sales office or in a support delivery department that is just taking care of his customer. So the concept of contact centers, the whole concept is being in one room, get all the communications in to redistribute that to knowledge workers. That concept is, in my understanding, is gone. because that was a lack of technology capabilities, which we now have overcome. So that's to soften a little bit the bold statement of the contact center is that. The other one is voice. I don't think voice is that. I do think that we are at the end of the cycle of let's say more traditional or a laggard type of customers entering the cloud space with communication technology that are now adopting CpaaS or CCaaS solutions, and they are still very much focused on voice. And I think we are at the moment that they now are ready for adopting new technologies aside from voice and start transitioning in their own business models. And on the other hand, you have let's say the more in the cloud type of services or companies or spin-offs of large corporates that are already very much focused on other channels rather than voice. And I think it's fair to say that to some extent they will also pick up on voice as well once voice becomes a little bit more intelligent as well. So the examples that I gave on for instance the NPS score that we are able to bring live to an agent, we will not only bring that live to text channel type of communications, but also in voice related communications. So no, voice is not that, I think.
I would agree with that, and it's nothing more frustrating than not given the option to make a phone call when you really need to speak to a human being. Good luck, for example, calling Google and actually getting someone on the phone. But that's another rant for another day. So Kevin, you know, as part of the CpaaS Acceleration Alliance, you partner with many different providers up and down the stack. What are some of your more interesting anecdote stories that you've been hearing about plans for this year? I don't know if you can name names or you might have to anonymize some of those, but I know you have a great bird's eye view of the industry from the CpaaS Acceleration Alliance.
We do, and you know the companies that are joining us here today, I think, are going to have some pretty exciting opportunities going into the new year. But I think we're really tapping into what is driving that in the customer experience, right? So where the providers have had difficulty is it's been fairly straightforward to choose a CpaaS technology partner. What's been more of a challenge is then turning that into a use case that their sales team can then go take to market successfully and start generating the revenue that they're looking for, right? So as we look into the new year, I think what I'm most excited about are companies that are understanding that, both from a sense of the technology that they're bringing, so that it is more of a turnkey, easier to understand, easier to consume. You know, the packaging and the way that that you're able to take that. It's not a box of Lego bricks that we're expecting the carrier, CSP, or the customer to put together themselves, but more in a consumption mode. And so I think that's a critical element, and I'm seeing more and more companies recognizing that. And then the second is really the engagement around that. So how, as the technology provider, whether that's the vendor side or whether that's the channel, you know, how am I working with my customer to implement it in their environment? And I really see this kind of going in two directions. I think one is for the enterprise, system integration continues to be a critical part of the stack in how this gets integrated into the other enterprise elements within, you know, the business processes and so forth, where communication plays a role. But I think the larger opportunity that we're getting close to is the SME market, where now things are packaged at a point where, as a small business without an IT group, I can consume these advanced services, and that's where I think we'll see the growth. You know, we've been at about a $15 billion you know, market revenue for CpaaS over the last year, and we think that's going to get, you know, 30 in the next 4 to 5 years. So we're going to double.
Wow.
And so to double that, we really have to find ways that end users can consume it. There's not enough developers in the world to take these platforms and get us to that number, right? So we've got to find ways that low code, no code, orchestration tools, and then turnkey applications where myself as a small business can just take this, it impacts my business. I put my credit card online and off I go. And so I see a lot of that in the works out there. And so that's an area where I think we're going to see a lot of growth. And as an end user, being able to get there is so critical. We were just talking about voice and messaging, and the power of messaging is twofold. One is that it's asynchronous, right? And so the ability to send a message, and it's real time, but it's not, right? I can, if I'm buying a travel package, I can go consult with my wife, come back and say, yes, I'm in. Whereas if I'm on a voice call, I feel the pressure and I just say, well, let me think about it, and you hang up. And so messaging allows this asynchronous real-time communication, which is really unique and can be very, very powerful for businesses. And I think voice is as important, but it plays a different point in the communication. It's more the finishing touch rather than the starting point. Just an anecdotal story. I called my daughter the other day and she said, "Dad, why didn't you text me first? That was rude." So we have this environment now where a phone call is actually thought as an interruption for somebody. So instead of leaving a voicemail, I now have to send a text ahead of my call to see if someone's available. So messaging is absolutely a critical part of the stack and how this all works together, because that's how we're communicating now as a society.
I saw a developer knock up an application where you would enter the reason for your call and then press call, and it would, ring with the actual reason you're calling. Maybe I'm having trouble finding you. So that was an interesting use case. I mean, telephony is always being reinvented, but I love the comments. And Ian, tell us how do you and how do the industry deliver these services? I mean, you've got the hyperscalers, you've got the telcos, carriers. You've got innovative, dynamic startups like yourselves and all kinds of folks in between. Maybe tell us your delivery model mechanism.
Well, the problem with your question is going to get me into trouble.
Good.
That's what we want here. We want controversy.
That's right. We want news.
Of sharing details that I shouldn't be sharing. But when I'm listening to us talk, this is good stuff for me. But I'm in the business. This is sausage making for us. From our audience, there was a term used earlier by Kevin. What's the use case? And actually, we talked about his voice dad and all of that, and we talked about engagement. These are our background. These are our plank state. We're having to deal with this, but how the hell do you make it real? How do you make it so it's a use case you can monetize and grow and drive revenues? So this is not a plug, but it sounds like it is, but it isn't. BRADIO stands for Business Resources Activity Intelligence Data Input and Output. We braided together. So both Shankar and Enrico talked about enriched experiences. We enrich them. But what do you do with it? So here's a use case that we're launching next week with one of the largest CpaaS players in the world. And I'm not going to say who it is, but you all know who it is. And it's massive. It's global, 190 countries. And we're launching it with one of the largest carriers in the world, and with millions upon millions upon millions of users. And we're going to use it as an on-ramp for engagement, which was touched on, I think, by Enrico, is WhatsApp, because they do 2 billion chats a month. And we're going to focus it on SME because that's 90% of the global economy. And you put that stack together and you bring in rich services that Radisys provides and Enrico can provide, but you make it local, because the thing is, voice isn't dead. It's atomized. It's atomized down to the local level. I'm a restaurant and I have staff that can take a call. They can advise a restaurant. You can say, I want a menu. And so that's what we're doing. We're launching actually with restaurants first in a Middle Eastern country, thousands upon thousands of restaurants. Then we're going to spread it over 5 countries in the MENA. And then we're going to Europe and Africa. And we have telco, CSP, communication service provider partners, who are all looking for that exact thing. How do you grow revenues? But how do you find a use case? Well, those are restaurants. Well, what about retail? Well, it turns out we got what we talked about here earlier. We got use cases pre-built for retail. We got use cases pre-built for, guess what? Vets and pets. Before everyone starts to laugh, it's a $200 billion space. Not so much in the Middle East, but in Europe and North America, it's huge. $200 billion space, completely fragmented. But you thread in things like the veterinary services, high resolution imagery, someone to talk to a vet tech, and nutrition. You thread that, you braid that all together, you've got a wonderful service model and a new way of engaging with the customer where they don't have to go wait for, especially post CpaaS, post COVID, they don't have to wait for an appointment, which they can't get. So what we're seeing is that if we can take the customer and give them an enriched engagement experience and localize it, and then use our tool sets, which we represent, CpaaS, Radisys, what Enrico's doing, we can provide the new norms of engagement. But make no mistake, this business I'm launching with these two players, and they're massive, took a long time to build. It's no mean feat to tie into Meta. It's no mean feat to tie into CPaaS providers. But once it's done, it's what you guys touched on. It's self-service. Pick. I want this, and this, and I'm going to go run my business. And now I'm competing with the exact same size company. I could never compete with, my exact same small company, 100 people, can compete with a 10,000 person company because I have the same transformational services. That for us has been what's been drawing us into the CSP marketplace so aggressively, is that the growth is about that localization, about getting people the actual use cases in their hands and doing it in a way that's self-service. So over the next 2 weeks, you'll see Brady are launching with these very big players. You know them all. And what you'll see is a way to engage with your business so you can put your menus up, you can put your services up. It could be a garden business, you could be a retail business. Doesn't matter. You can then go and start using the carrier's own infrastructure. You can add it to your bill. You can do all these kind of things. This moat is what the carrier, the communication service providers will own. So that's the use case I can give to you guys without almost getting in trouble.
Well, we welcome you back to talk details when you're able. And Shankar, I'm shifting to you. You guys are really at the cutting edge of customer experiences. I'd love to hear a couple anecdotes from you on how your platforms and tools and APIs are being used. I've heard of some amazing ones around video. Maybe share some developer anecdotes on what
Certainly.
the magical experiences you're building.
Absolutely. So one of the shift that we see in the industry, right? From a customer's perspective, there are two things that have completely changed. Number one, loyalty. When I say that, it's loyalty to a certain company or a certain CSP, right? Like back in the days, if I was with AT&T, I would be with AT&T until end of time, right? But that has changed now. The second thing that customers want today is instantaneous gratification, right? They don't want to wait on a call for like 30 seconds or even for a minute or so till you reach a point where you get the necessary information that you want. I want to be in a position where I just call in for whatever, with be it in talking to a real person or I'm an automated assistant or whatever. But I would like to basically say, call in and say, hey, I would like to know what's the current balance in my account is as of today, right? And I want the answer instantaneously. So these two shifts that we see in the in the customer paradigm has kind of created, it's kind of shown us what are the enhancements that we have to build, right? So that's where, as I said, so there's a lot of things that we do with video and the analytics that you build on top of it nowadays. Like for instance, on this, just as giving an example, on this particular call that I came in, when I logged in, I had to enter my name and what company I'm from and so on and so forth, and it added the name next to me. Same thing, I could have basically created a service where I just call in, the system already has a facial imprint of mine. It recognizes me, authenticates me, it automatically adds my name, and I'm into the call, right? Similarly, you can do a lot with voice. Lot of the financial institutions are using voice as a method of authenticating a user rather than asking specific questions and so on and so forth. So those are some enhancements that we certainly see. But one of the things that we certainly see an shift on is the uptake of video, right? I mean, given that we've all pretty much work from home, there's a lot of video usage that has been going on. But there's also the challenges that comes from a video perspective, because if you don't have the necessary bandwidth, video is not going to work. So the CSPs also need to kind of, that's where the aspect of this whole pipe that comes into play. They have to look at enhancing that pipe also based on the services that they want to kind of offer. So what we have done at Radisys is also to create the platform that we call as Engage Digital Platform, or in short EDP. We've basically made it really, really simple for any developer to create services. To give an example, we've been talking to a few customers here in Asia Pac where there is a need for translation service on a two-party call or multi-party call. Given the low code, no code mechanism that we've built in, we were able to create a service within a couple of days, right? It's that easy to create the service. I think the complexity comes into play because you have to take the service and deploy it in a CSP's network. That's where the entire aspect of coming into play in terms of regulation and the security mechanisms and all those things come in. But from a service creation perspective, it is really, really easy. It's really my apologies. There's some
No,
okay.
no, I
So
think
it's really
you made a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the
Ease of
idea,
ease of ease of use, ease of deployment, ease of development. I mean, doing more with less. These are all trends that we're all seeing in our personal,
it's
professional lives.
sorry, Evan, I don't mean to step on you, but it's something we're all saying it. People, the problem with APIs is they're ingredients, but people really just want dinners. They want to buy them and use them, and I think that's what we're seeing now is this push to give us the dinners, and
Yeah.
and that's what I think where we're seeing tremendous. All of us here, not just me, Brady, we're seeing tremendous traction. Is our strength is providing the engagement dinners versus the engagement ingredients, and
Yeah.
and that's what we bring to the CSPs. Sorry,
I love it. Yeah, Enrico, you were about to step in. So speaking of delivering dinner and a meal and an experience like at a high end restaurant, not just food. What are customers coming to you asking for from Anywhere365 that they're not able to either build themselves or buy off the shelf? Like, what is your special sauce, to use the food analogy here?
Oh my God, yeah, it's special sauce. We don't have the special sauce yet. We have it from a technology perspective. I think I can best explain that from again a burden type of analogy, because if we're, for instance, talking a lot about personification of the communications. So you having bought a laptop yesterday, calling or either text channeling towards the provider of the laptop, and obviously we know who you are, we know you bought a laptop, etc. And then if we're brainstorming internally on how to improve this customer experience, I'm a little bit sad because this storyline, this scenario has been here for ages.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about it, and they talk about it so much that it's almost like it's there. But I've been flying.
Real world doesn't exist. It rarely exists in the real world.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Unless maybe you're buying something from Apple at the Apple Store and they have an extraordinary experience.
Yeah, so you have a couple of them probably. I was flying out to the US prior to Christmas, and something went wrong, and I flew with a rather big airline, and we were talking about if voice is dead or not. Now, voice is not dead, but it's, for me, I only want to start using voice if the rest is not working for me properly. And well, okay, getting back to the burden. So I lost my story there a little bit.
Well, I guess are there unique requests, features, functionality, capabilities your customers are asking for?
So if you're talking about the personification, for example, and what we need, what our special sauce will probably be, is if you're looking towards enrichment of data about our customers, we are highly depending on everything the customers are currently owning or their suppliers are currently delivering to them. And so we deliver this whole bunch of nice and cool features, but they can hardly use it because the data sets, for instance, are not set up for it. So an important stake and focus for us will be, to what extent do we need to own that data, that customer enrichment data ourselves, to make sure that our solutions start working properly.
That's such a great point. Absolutely. So gentlemen, we're at the top of the hour almost, and I want to kind of go through and talk, what you're excited about personally and professionally, maybe an event coming up, maybe some travel, maybe something else. Kevin, I know you have a lot going on. What are you excited about over the next week or two?
Yeah, particularly the next couple of weeks here. We're kind of co-sponsoring and working with the Cloud Communications Alliance, CCA, at their event in Fort Lauderdale, the 16th through the 18th. And we're doing a first, and I'm super excited about it. We're actually, we kind of have a keynote position there, and we're bringing in alliance members and partners as part of a CpaaS Showcase Challenge. And so, Evan, you're actually going to be there as a judge, and I believe
I know
Ian's going to
that.
be on
I'm
the stage
excited.
as
I'm
well.
going to have my
Yeah,
Judge Judy outfit on.
we
There you
were.
go.
I was hoping to be on the stage. We actually think this is great, but we've been asked to move to the UAE as part of the global hub there, and so I'm flying to Dubai on Friday, so I'm not sure, but what we're seeing is the rubber's hit the road on the use cases that we've talked about, and for radio, we're seeing a tremendous amount of growth in what I seem to be somewhat passionate about, which is that data, the user experience and making it real, going from ingredients to dinners and focusing on verticals. I really think, Radio bought a company a couple of years ago called Layer, and it was what we talked about. It was a simple experience to AI and low code, and you could have an engagement experience in 90 seconds. And the data we got, which is what Enrico was touching on, was amazing. We had 400,000 users sign up, and that's helped to inform this new product that we're launching. So I do think data does inform the user experience. It's not just us spinning up some cool bells and whistles features, a cool dinner. You got to have the data sets behind it. But I think to go with where Kevin's going, by the way, I just flew back from Fort Lauderdale 3 days ago. So back again, I guess, at some point. But I think what I see personally, beyond us moving to the UAE, in part, we'll still be in Silicon Valley, is how we're starting to create these verticalized experiences, what we call verticalized, or these market experiences, and how we bring our stack right around this table is tremendous expertise around, it's one thing to talk about braiding stuff together, but how do you braid high-res imaging? How do you bring in voice? How do you make localized, hyper-local voice communications or call centers? You got to have what's here, and you got to put it but you got to present it in a self-service model, and that's what's happening right now for us. And I'm passionate about it because I think that it was pretty funny. We've talked about this stuff for years, and no one ever does it. And we're sitting there with our flies open, proverbially. Now it's time. We're delivering it, and I'm really excited about it because it's such a huge space. And instead of looking down, we're looking out into the constellation of engagement, and it's massive. All kinds of engagement models we can take advantage of using our technologies. And our CSP partners, they're looking for that. So if there was ever a time, this is now. So that's my long-winded exit speech there.
Ian, I didn't sense any enthusiasm or excitement in your voice, so I really.
You gotta have something in the cold dark.
You need to amp it up. Well, I want to grab some hookah with you in Dubai. Yep. I'd love to see your personality after an hour or two of hookah. I'm sure that would be something to see. But Enrico, you're part of the SmartCom Summit here. We appreciate you attending. What else are you excited about, either events or travel or other things on your agenda?
So I'm really excited about something that has basically nothing to do with technology or what we are bringing into the market now. We over the COVID period, we grew more than we doubled basically the company in terms of headcount. Wow. And then after the COVID period, so from June 2021, basically, we almost added 1/3 again to the company. So we grew a lot over the course of that period. Being a rather small company, obviously you can realize it has some impact in terms of culture and build some cohesion in the company. And not only have we been growing that much, but it's also on an international scale. So been hiring a lot of people in the US, in South America, in the APAC region, even in Hawaii. We tend to go out and do the management offsites in Hawaii probably next year.
I'm sorry, did you say Hawaii?
Hawaii, yeah.
Okay, I'm volunteering to be your bag holder on the next trip.
Because we only have one employee there, but we think
well, now you could have two. You
We're
could
gonna
have
make it
two.
very important. We're gonna make. But what my point was is that finally, after this growth and after the focus of last year to build a better fundament of the company, we decided to invite everybody on the global scale to come to Rotterdam in 3 weeks' time. And we have a fantastic all hands event on a Friday and a fantastic party with all types of entertainment on a nice ship in Rotterdam the 28th. So I'm really looking forward to meet all the peers that I've been talking to through video a lot, but now being able to meet them in person and have a great time.
That sounds fantastic. I always love my trips to the Netherlands. And it's good to see you not only hiring through the pandemic, but continuing to hire. We've seen big tech actually overhiring and now laying off, which is
Yeah.
really sad and unfortunate to see, including some of my favorite companies like Salesforce. But very sad for the employees in particular.
Yeah.
Shankar, what say you? What are you up to over the next 30 days?
Yeah. So before I answer that, Ivan, I wanted to actually make a very quick comment on an interesting question you asked. Is voice dead? I think the answer to that depends on who you ask. The likes of us that are on the panel, for us, voice will never be dead, right? But ask a Gen Z or a TikTok generation, they would actually ask you back, what is voice, right? So I think really, if you look at it, voice as a revenue generator is dead, right? For the CSPs, because everything is now provided as free. But I think it's all the enhancements that you have to do on voice that is the generation, new revenue generation that you look at, right? I think that's the way at least we are looking at here at Radisys, because you can't make, the CSPs can't make money on just selling voice anymore. It is the enhancements that goes on top of it. So from that point, to answer your question, I think my next trip most likely will be MWC Barcelona, where we are looking at Radisys as a booth. We are looking at showcasing some really cool applications that we have developed using our CpaaS platform. We, in fact, last month did an initiative called Hackathon over a weekend, which was organized by DAT Summit. It was run at about like 10 different centers globally. And we got some amazing, results in terms of service creation and application creation from folks that are out there, right? So some of those as things that we really like, and there was, a good monetary, a prize that was given to the folks that actually, came in at the top. So we're taking some of those applications and showcasing that at MWC in terms of now it's all about how quickly you can create these services and deploy.
Well, on that note, we will see you at MWC. I'm sure many of us
Absolutely.
will be there. And we can even have a bit of a catch up before the show, during the show, after the show. But thanks for joining us and sharing your insights. I know your time is valuable. Before we go, Kevin, any last thoughts?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the group here as we put this summit together in cooperation with Smartphone Summit and CpaaS Acceleration Alliance. These are the types of great people we have involved, and look forward to growing our membership and having an impact and helping both the vendor side as well as the CSP side really grow this business. Clearly, there's huge opportunity here, and so we're just looking to help and appreciate everyone's membership and participation here. This has been awesome.
Yeah,
It has been. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
You.
Thanks, Ian. Any last
Thanks,
thoughts?
everyone. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll get an update from Ian on exciting news in a couple weeks. And thanks, everyone. Until then, see you later.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, Evan.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.